What started off as a routine ocean survey quickly turned into something no one could have predicted. While scanning the ocean floor, local researchers noticed a strange metallic shape resting deep beneath the surface. At first, it looked like just another lost shipping container. But when their diving robot pulled it up, everyone watching the live feed went completely silent, frozen in shock. Before we dive into what they found, go ahead and tap the like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. This wasn't just some lucky find. On that very day, Coast Guard buoys had picked up strange activity below the waves, heavy, unexplained movement. Sonar readings backed it up, all pointing to something huge crashing into the water. Captain Izzy Barkley and her experienced crew were sent out right away, determined to figure out what was going on. The buoy with the strongest signal floated about 20 meters from shore. As soon as Izzy and her team reached it, they got to work. Izzy, being the lead researcher, always dove first. Within minutes, she was underwater. The deeper she went, the heavier and darker the ocean became. Then ahead of her, she saw it, just sitting there on the seafloor. She circled the object quickly and knew right away she couldn't lift it herself. Breaking the surface, she called out clear instructions. Within moments, the crew had the diving robot ready to go. "Let's bring it up," she said, her voice steady but her heart pounding. The research team had left their high-tech base thinking they were ready for anything. Under Izzy's sharp direction, they ran through every system check on the remotely operated vehicle. Once everything looked good, they lowered it into the sea. The robot slipped quietly beneath the waves, heading straight into the deep. The descent went smoothly. Surprisingly, the water below was clear, which gave them a rare bit of luck. Soon, the outline of the container came into view, half hidden in the shadows. It didn't move at all, like it had been waiting down there for ages. To someone just watching, it looked normal, like any other battered old shipping container, but something about it felt off. At Izzy's command, the robot reached out with its mechanical arms and locked onto the container's frame. The team started the lift. Cables pulled tight. Machinery hummed. For a moment, it looked like it might work, but the container didn't budge easily. Whatever was inside wasn't just standard cargo. The resistance was strange, almost eerie. Their ship's crane was built to handle massive weight, things like sunken cars or even stranded sea creatures. Still, it was a battle. Finally, after a long struggle against the ocean's pull, the container broke through the surface. It slammed onto the deck with a heavy metallic crash. The crew jumped back, then rushed forward, eyes wide and breathing fast, all of them desperate to see what had nearly pushed their ship to the edge. Most of the crew was buzzing with excitement, but Izzy stayed quiet. Her sharp eyes locked onto details others missed. The steel walls of the container looked oddly smooth, almost too polished. Then it hit her. Something was off. This thing had just come from the ocean floor, yet there wasn't a single leak, no drips, not even a trace of moisture coming from the sealed edges. Her gut twisted. This wasn't just lost cargo. It had been sealed on purpose. Whoever put it there had meant for it to stay hidden. It was designed that way. Someone had buried a secret down there. Izzy's voice was firm. "Open it, but do it carefully." One of the deckhands brought out bolt cutters and clamped down on the padlock. The hinges groaned loudly. A sharp hiss escaped, and with one last screech, the door creaked open. Everyone stared. What they saw inside didn't look like cargo at all. It felt wrong. Almost like she was drawn to it, Izzy stepped inside. The walls were lined with strange devices. Some looked mechanical, others seemed almost organic. None of it made sense. She ran her fingers along a soft object wrapped in cloth. Close by were pieces of worn wood. These weren't artifacts, they were personal items. A chipped mug, a blanket folded neatly, a small stack of books. It didn't feel like equipment. It felt lived in. Why would someone hide everyday stuff like this in a sealed container underwater, she murmured, leaning in. The space looked more like a tiny home, compact with a small bed, furniture, even a bolted-down closet. This wasn't cargo, she said quietly. Someone lived here. Suddenly someone shouted, breaking the silence. "Over here!" A crew member held up a scratched Ziploc bag with a small digital recorder inside. Izzy's heart jumped. Maybe this could explain everything. She took it gently. The bag had kept it dry. The device crackled with static, then cleared. A man's voice came through, rough and a little shaky. "If someone finds this," he said, speaking quickly like he was in a rush, "I need to say this before they realize we're here and come for us." Izzy froze. "Come for us!" The words echoed in her head. The message ended in a burst of static. The only sound left was the waves hitting the hull and the stunned quiet from the crew. She stared at the recorder, the weight of it sinking in. This wasn't just a mystery. They'd uncovered something someone never wanted found. "My name is Ahmed Osman," the voice had said, nearly out of breath. "I hope someone finds this container and this message. If you're hearing this, people's lives are in danger." The words hung in the air like a warning bell. Then the tape cut out, and silence took over again. Just as Izzy was about to say something, the recorder crackled again. Static buzzed through the room before Ahmed's voice came back, faster now, tighter, full of fear. "We're in serious danger," he said quickly. "We're on the Evercargo Voyager, but I don't know how much longer we'll be safe. Please help us." Then silence. Izzy tapped the device again, but it had gone completely dead. One name from the message stuck in her mind: the Evercargo Voyager. She'd seen it before. She rushed to check the ship's digital records. Sure enough, the Evercargo Voyager had popped up several times in port logs, but never stayed long. No checks, no offloading, just quick refuels. It had always seemed a little strange. "We need to find that ship," she said, her voice steady. This wasn't about a discovery anymore. It was about saving lives. A few hours later, they reached the coordinates. The Evercargo Voyager sat there about 15 miles from shore, rusty and still, no lights, no activity, just a heavy, unsettling silence. The crew stood watching. "It's just sitting there," someone whispered. "We need backup," Izzy said right away. She radioed the Coast Guard and local police. When they arrived, she quickly explained the situation and played a piece of the recording. The officers listened closely. "This is serious," one of them said, his face tight. But getting on board wouldn't be simple. The ship's short, quiet docking suggested it was hiding something. If the captain spotted law enforcement, he might lock them out. Or worse. That's when Izzy had an idea. The officers could pretend to be part of her research crew. With spare uniforms and a simple story to explain their visit, they could blend in. It was risky, but it just might work. Izzy and two officers got into a dinghy. The sea was calm beneath them, but inside they were tense. When they called out to request boarding, there was a long, heavy pause. Crew members appeared at the rails, whispering among themselves. Finally, one of them answered, voice cold and guarded. Izzy kept her smile steady. "We're with a marine research group," she explained, throwing in a few scientific terms to sound convincing. The man didn't answer at first. Instead, he barked some orders, and suddenly, crew members were moving quickly, clearly trying to cover something up. After a long, quiet wait, they dropped a ladder. Izzy and the others climbed aboard where they were met by the captain, a weathered man with a hard stare. "You've got 1 hour," he said, then turned and walked away without another word. Izzy kept her cool, acting like she was logging data on her tablet. Her heart was racing. She had finally made it onto the Evercargo Voyager, led there by Ahmed Osman's voice. Now she just had to find out what the ship was hiding. They walked slowly through the narrow halls, pretending to study marine conditions while secretly watching for signs, anything that felt off. but everything looked spotless. Out of quiet desperation, Izzy leaned in close to a nearby container and whispered, "Ahmed Osman, are you here?" One of the officers gave her a confused look. "Just trust me," Izzy said quietly. "If he's here, he'll hear me." Seconds later, a soft click echoed behind them. A door creaked open. Before anyone could move, hands reached out and yanked them inside. The door slammed shut. The officers reached for their weapons but stopped cold. Inside was a small, stifling room packed with people. At least 20 of them. Some looked weak, others just scared. Then a man stepped forward. His face was thin, his eyes tired, but Izzy recognized him right away. Ahmed Osman. He stared at her, stunned. "I can't believe it worked," he said, barely above a whisper. "You found us." The people around him looked up, their eyes filled with the first trace of hope. Ahmed told them everything. "They promised us safety, a better life. I gave them everything I had, but once we got on board, everything changed. They locked us up, forced us to work. Anyone who refused disappeared." The truth hit hard. This wasn't just trafficking, it was slavery at sea. The officers didn't waste a second. They started planning their move immediately. Ahmed described the crew, their shifts, their weapons. Every detail mattered now. The Coast Guard launched a covert raid just minutes later. The wait felt endless. Then suddenly, it began. Officers moved in fast, taking the ship by surprise. The traffickers didn't even have time to react. Within an hour, the entire vessel was under control. The nightmare had ended. Izzy and Ahmed worked together, unlocking containers, helping families out, making sure no one was left behind. When they finally reached shore, rescue crews were waiting. Shelters, doctors, volunteers. News of the rescue spread fast. Some called it one of the most incredible operations in modern maritime history. Back home, Izzy followed every update, but it wasn't the headlines that mattered. It was the people. Ahmed and the others were free. Weeks later, letters started arriving. Photos, thank you notes, stories of kids starting school, families reunited, new beginnings everywhere. Authorities soon uncovered a huge trafficking ring stretching across multiple countries. Dozens were arrested. Izzy later testified in global hearings, pushing for stronger laws and better oversight at sea. People listened because she had seen what really happens when no one's looking. She never went back to ocean research the same way. Every trip out felt different, more serious. She began mentoring younger scientists, reminding them that not every discovery is scientific. Some are about doing the right thing. When people asked if she'd do anything differently, her answer was always the same: not a thing. Then one quiet morning, a letter showed up with no name on it. Inside was a photo. Ahmed standing proudly in front of a small bakery, smiling. A sign beside him read, "Freedom tastes sweet." Izzy smiled and tucked the photo into her journal. The ocean had held a dark secret, but bringing it to light had saved lives. If this story moved you, go ahead and share it. Hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful true stories. And don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss what's coming next.